people are aware of lyrics, they're aware of expressing yourself lyrically, and more of them are doing it in a way that is creative and original. So I don't think we have anything to worry about. It's not like poetry is being lost. In fact, the oral tradition is making a big comeback, I think.
Ask not what your country can do for you.
She's a club for
what you can do for your
I really should care, not knowing where I'm going.
From Tower Block.
On and time has passed, leaving me alone with footprints on my arms.
Anyone really?
It was
You?
The only white man in your wedding parade.
No. Called dumb chair.
So real.
Don't have time for poetry anymore. I think you have to. I think there's something that's correct in it. I think there's probably people who didn't have time for poetry ages ago as well. And if you don't make time for it, you're probably not going to get it. I think you can make enough stops to make poetry exciting or poetry kind of popular. But I think what appeals to people mainly about poetry or good poetry is it kind of slows things down. It steps outside the grand narrative. If you look at a news station, it's basically the content of news is something is happening right now, it's very important, it's very exciting, and we must pay attention to it, and it's gone, and the next thing comes along. And poetry is kind of, it's not really doing the same thing, it is slowing down. And sometimes you have to slow down yourself in order to get it.
and I think there's a little bit of snobbery sometimes about poetry.
The nights are long and cold and dead.
Should I avoid stepping on cracks in the pavement?
When all I receive is a torrent of deceit and pain.
Your reflection as charming as shadows stalking, your consternation ultimately vain.
Would I find some demons, or would I find a key?
They put you under pressure. They put you under pure mad pressure.
Applause clattered down the corridor.
Crow calls rule the black steel of the gleaming trees, metallic behind the rooftop monuments to satellite TVs.
But I think also there's always been a music to poetry, there's always been a music within a language, and maybe a musical background helps people to kind of, it coaxes the listener into hearing the music of the language.
So sometimes I go into different environments and people say, oh, you're the poet, and then they see me doing a song and they're like, but you're a singer, and then you see me doing a rap and they say, but you're a rapper. It's all lyrical expression, you know, it's words delivered with power that carry a rhythmic sound. It's word, power and sound, and that's what El Crisis is about. Go for a drive, eh? Third gear corner taker, the rear wheel spinner, rim shaker, the stuntman movie maker, drummer on the road devastator, clutch down first gear, accelerator, see you later, XR2 driver, the handbrake puller, 3-pointer maneuver, one more window down, bust a corner, spit saliva, from my nose to my mouth comes. Sometimes when you go on a stage and you see somebody got everything word for word perfect, I just say, wow, how do you do that? How can you live without being spontaneous, you know what I mean?
And it's very important to inspire the youth to express this way, because this is how they express themselves. The modern day ways of teaching, it's kind of been outdated in some ways.
Because sometimes my stuff can get a bit heavy. I'll ease you in. Swords and sigils and circles, black candles, poetically goetic, the words flow like blood. From Felagor to Satan and breeders of hatred could not consort with a merrier brood. When it comes to Maleficio, I shine like the devil's pride, but darker in the eyes, more sinister about the smile. When I peak, I convulse with the ecstasy of sin, from neck to thigh, if but for a while.
The ability to stand up in front of other people, especially peers, people that you know, and express your heart to them is just, it's got to be one of the cornerstones of a kind of happy life, surely. Being able to present yourself to the world in a way that is confident and has conviction, and that can convince other people of your standpoint as well. I mean, it's empowering, it gives people sort of personal centering, it's incredible. When I do workshops with kids, I do a lot of workshops with kids, especially in inner city schools, and I just see people just sort of blossom and their classmates be astonished, and it's very, very important, and I think it should happen as much as possible.
In a garden made of worms, new domestos kills the germs. Prestos make your pickle firm. A garden made, a garden made, a garden made of worms.
I mean, kids are conscious of lyrics. They understand what the lyrics mean. They understand that the lyrics aren't always truthful. They understand what makes a good story. I mean, kids are just inundated with pop music. They are just filled to the hairline with pop music. So, and every song is a story.
He's locked within this dark dream. In his imagining, he's scrambling to find Maria, but she keeps vanishing. He wakes, cold and shaking, in a sudden sweat. Driven by fear, he rushed to gather up his stuff and left, running with his head spinning, his tongue raw, running through the streets that have been there for summer before.
Hip-hop has caused sort of poetry to evolve, but when you look at the sort of history of hip-hop, and you look at acts like Gil Scott-Heron and The Last Poets, those are all acts doing something very kind of like a proto-hip-hop, and they were doing that based on poetry and simple oral cultures that again went way back. So what seems like an evolution and a moving forward is really just a bunch of, I think, characteristics and ingredients that have been around since time immemorial coming together in new ways.
I was brought up by an activist dad who used to take me to anarchist road protests as like father-son trips as a child, and we used to go tie ourselves to trees and paint graffiti and stuff. So I think I was always brought up with a sense that it's good to stand up for what you believe in and be loud about it, and I think spoken word is quite a tasty arena for someone with that sensibility.
I mean it in the hip-hop sense of the word. If you bomb a wall in hip-hop, you cover it in your signature. You paint it with your colours, right? So when I say bomb Tesco, I'm talking about reclaiming the space around you and making it yours, doing your own thing in your world, right? Bomb Tesco! My primal ish son, my tribal rhythm bounces somewhat manically in the cavity of your sinus system. In order to fill your mind with this ethereal medicine, you might just find yourself beatboxing in the cereal section. Or tapping 4/4 beats on tins of corned beef, or slapping a solo on a slab of mature cheese. The manager's called Steve. And he comes over to chat to you saying, please do not practice drum patterns on cans of tuna. It's very distracting to the consumer.
I think in cities like London or Bristol, where I grew up, where there's a lot of kind of confluence of different cultures, and there's a lot of contact between, you know, more sort of canonised traditional literature and the more oral tradition that the Caribbean and like African communities bring to the table, like hip hop and dub poetry and stuff like that. I think in cities like Bristol and London, you tend to get just much more the hip hop influence of whatever generation. But you know, there's been lyrical music since time began, and musical lyrics.
Talk, my hair is off the branches and my skin is off the bark. Hey, are you in tune with nature when night turns dark? Sometimes I light a candle and feel a vibration from my heart. Hey, I feel this fire burning from my heart as a voice cries out in the wilderness and an angel plays a harp.